Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the JHS Topics podcast. In this episode, we are finally going to be covering the second blockbuster hit next to Oppenheimer. Actually, I think it's trying to surpass Oppenheimer with how much money it made in the box office so far. Barbie. So yeah, let's just jump right into the review. So currently, right now, the two movies. Well, actually, it's not even just really at film. It's really like anywhere else where you're seeing the memes and stuff like that. The two leading pieces of media is really carrying this month really, and what has really garnered a lot of hype. I think ever since June or May, since it was announced, is Barbie and Oppenheimer. And yeah, they released same day, July 21st, which at the time of this recording is just a few days ago. And man, I mean, a lot of people have been dying to see both of these films. They have been going at it in the box office, and I like how it's like friendly competition. From what I've heard, a lot of the cast and crew were kind of like friendly with both the cast and the crews from these movies, and a lot of people are doing the double film back to back, watching these two movies back to back. I wish I could do it, but literally like all the screenings for both films were like sold out on day one, so I really couldn't go day one, unfortunately. But man, I'm glad that I finally got to see both of these movies. And you guys already know my thoughts on Oppenheimer. If you guys haven't checked out the episode, please do. I give a more full in-depth analysis, but I guess to kind of summarize that, I really enjoyed Oppenheimer. But again, if you want all the details, please go watch that episode. There's no spoilers in there. It's just a 20-minute kind of like giving my thoughts, like non-spoiler type review. Same thing going here with Barbie. But yeah, I finally saw Barbie, and honestly, I have to admit that Barbie is ironically a really good movie. I kind of watched it for the memes and for the laughs, and because everybody was like saying, "Oh, watch Oppenheimer for laughs and watch Barbie for the philosophy." But unironically, Barbie has a lot of deep shit going into it, and it does have a pretty interesting philosophy and mindset surrounding the film. So, as many people have seen from the Barbie cast, I mean, the super big names that are in this movie that a lot of people are going to see it mostly for. We got Margaret Robbie, Ryan Gosling, Greta Gerwig, Will Ferrell, Simon Liu, Michael Cera, Kate McKinnon. The list goes on and on and on. I think Issa Rae was also here again. Even Dua Lipa, Johnson. There's a lot of people. I can't name them all. There's like a lot of people, and unironically, a lot of I would say almost all of them just gave absolutely their 100% in dedication in here. And man, Ryan Gosling, this guy is such a great actor, man. This guy can just even give like he can make the goofiest performance seem like one of the best performances you're ever gonna see in recent memory. This guy went from Blade Runner, from Drive, from a lot of more serious films, and obviously he did more lighthearted films like La La Land. And now going to Barbie kind of makes sense why he can sort of like take advantage of the singing parts and be as emotional and as movie as he is. But man, in this movie, he goes all out. In this movie, he has a lot of energy, a lot of charisma, and it seems like he had a lot of fun making this movie in general. Same thing goes to Margaret Robbie, even though her character throughout the film goes through a more emotional problems, because the whole plot in this movie, I know a lot of people have been asking for a plot because it was very like unclear what was this movie going to be about. But to sort of give like a summary without spoiling anything, basically Barbie sort of like breaks the fourth wall and kind of asks herself, bigger than life questions, and starts to, I guess, obtain human feelings and human emotions, and start discovering these type of emotions as she ventures on in this journey that sort of helps her grow as a person and helps her understand herself as well. Sort of like a self-love and self identification type of journey. I honestly did not expect this movie to be as dark as it was, because the trailers and everything leading up to it kind of seemed like it was gonna be like a fun and cheeky ride. But the more you watch the movie, the more you're like, damn, like this is like very deep. Like this is very dark and deep. It's not Black Mirror. I mean, it sort of is actually Black Mirror. Not gonna lie, but it's not to the point that it's like like, oh, you're gonna leave the film, like you're gonna leave the theater scarred for life. It's more of like it's trying to give you a message that is very adult, it's very mature, but it has a reason as to why it's being this deep and this layered. I think it falls perfectly for a don't judge a book by its cover. I think a lot of people went in this movie thinking, oh yeah, it's gonna be like a lighthearted, dumb fun movie, but honestly, it kind of is in some aspects, but for the most part, it's pretty deep and detailed with what it's trying to say. There's a lot of themes and messages in here that have been also kind of rubbing people the wrong way, especially, well, men. But yeah, this is it's kind of political with what it's trying to say in its satire. It does have a part where it satirizes the patriarchy, where the makers of Barbie, or the people who are, I guess, controlling the whole Barbie industry and are making the dolls and stuff like that, are making the big decisions. I would say the sort of like the board, to put it that way. All the board members are really men, and men are running this whole Barbie thing, and they're sort of programming all these Barbies to be the way they are. They're pretty, they're perfect, they don't really have any flaws or issues to it, and it is a direct satire and critique to patriarchy and the average, quote unquote, average man's view of a woman, of a perfect woman, one who doesn't have any flaws. She's beautiful, she's this and that. I think it's the whole point of the satire. It's not a realistic view of what a woman truly is. For some reason, a lot of men kind of like walked out of the theater, or a lot of like commentators, I think you guys know what I'm trying to refer to, which I'm trying to refer here. A lot of people claim this movie is extremely woke, and I'm sorry for going more into political terrain, but it's kind of hard not to, especially with all the press that's going around this film and everybody criticizing this film for being more abrasive and explicit with what it's trying to critique, which honestly, I give props Barbie for doing that, because I can't believe I'm saying this in a sentence. Barbie is a perfect social commentary of what's wrong in the patriarchy and what's wrong when you have an influx of men telling women what to do. I mean, Barbie perfectly describes in this movie that women are so underpowered and so underleveled when it comes to climbing the whole social ladder that is going around in the world, in the real world. And as she explores more in the real world, she gets to notice how real world problems are actually very hard to deal with, and how it's normalized in the world, and how toxic and mean misogynistic culture could be, especially how possessive it can be when discussing topics about femininity. As I said previously, I think the whole cast gave an amazing performance, and Margot Robbie has a perfect control when it comes to delivering an emotion, when it comes to like balancing a very funny, very fun, eccentric personality to a more serious and more darker personality as well. She's really a master in controlling both of those emotions to sort of portray the whole message and theme that this movie has to offer. I really love how throughout the movie, and especially at the end, we get the whole message of, you really have to understand yourself if you really want to be with someone else. And you don't need someone else to really be happy. You can really just be yourself, and as you become yourself, you learn more things about yourself, and you start to be a person. You start to be more of an identity, and with that identity becomes a huge ego boost. And while you'll never be perfect, you at least know who you are. You know what makes you happy and what doesn't make you happy, as that's sort of like mental insight for you in the future. Also, the set design in this movie is honestly really cool. Yes, are the effects throughout this movie kind of cheap? A little bit. I mean, it's more like cartoony and stuff like that. It sort of like meshes both worlds from the more animated shows, from the Barbie shows, and it's sort of like paying homage to it as the movie goes on with the the sort of CGI placement and stuff like that, which is always pretty cool and nice. But I think what really just takes the crown in here is how all the Barbie houses are built, how the beach scenes are made, how I can't believe there's a scene where it's like the Supreme Court. And there's a it's honestly very funny scene. There's a Supreme Court, and it's like all pink and Barbie and stuff like that, and the pink house really, which is the White House, but it's obviously in Barbie Land. It's the pink house, which that was pretty cool and funny. And also whoever did wardrobe did an amazing job in here. They really just nailed all the Barbie looks and all the Ken looks as well. Everybody was looking sharp and nice throughout the movie. Makeup was honestly on point. I didn't find makeup to be eerily plastic to the point that it's like very uncanny to see. It looked beautiful, it looked perfect, and everybody again just looked amazing. Also, I mean, it's not really a spoiler. You probably seen the scenes in the trailer. There's some dance moments. There's some choreography involved moments scattered throughout here. And wow, Ryan Gosling could really move. Simon Liu too. Michael Cera too. Everybody, all the Kens in this movie move, because there's a lot of Ken scenes where they're dancing and stuff like that, trying to impress the other Barbies or trying to make up. It's a very funny movie in general. It's very like dumb, even explaining it in the context. But it's very tongue in cheek, and a lot of these choreographies are very very well done. Everybody was like synchronizing at time, and honestly, it looked very difficult to do so, especially since there's an army full of Kens dancing at the same time, which I thought was pretty funny. Well, the songs that were made for this movie, I'm specifically referencing more like what the characters sing, not necessarily like the soundtrack attached to this, like a Spider-Man soundtrack. I mean, more like what the characters are singing. Well, not, but there isn't necessarily that many like catchy songs throughout this movie. I still felt like it was a very nice and cool addition as we get more details of how many of these characters kind of react, and not really a spoiler, but a lot of the time it's the Ken singing the songs, so that was very funny and cool. I do have to say that the soundtrack attached to this movie, it's just not the character singing. It's obviously more like actual professional musical artists, performing and stuff like that was pretty cool. I really did like with the Charlie XCX song. I thought that was pretty like cool, kind of non-stop pop getting into there. While not necessarily anything like something to die for, I thought it was a very cool addition, especially the scene where they apply it was very fast paced. And yes, a lot of pink was used in this movie. I did hear that Barbie sort of like caused an international pink shortage, which I absolutely believe. There is an insane amount of pink throughout this film. Obviously not that much pink when you go to the real world scenes, but a lot of this movie takes place in the Barbie land world, which obviously it's named after Barbie and stuff. Again, it's very colorful, it's very poppy. I don't think it's too much to the point where you get blind. If I'm being truly honest, I really wouldn't mind sitting down watching 30 more minutes of this movie. This movie was honestly very entertaining from beginning to end, unironically. And I heard there was probably going to be a sequel along the way, which I honestly just co-signed. I really wanted to happen. Would not mind a sequel at all. It was a very fun and entertaining movie, and it's also a very thought-provoking movie. Unironically, has some great messages, some great themes scattered around through this movie. Well, sure, it might seem a little bit too complex for a quote-unquote kids movie. The more you kind of like explore the movie, the more you're like, it's more of a message not only to the younger audiences, but to the adult audiences who obviously grew up playing with these Barbies. And it's also a very universal like topic. It's a very universal theme, a very universal message that's very emotional, and anybody can honestly learn a few good things from this movie. And yeah, it's not all just a bunch of pink dolls. It's not all just about like pink and dolls and girl stuff. It's honestly just deeper than that. Unironically, it's deeper than that. I'm not even kidding. So to like sort of wrap this up, to sort of give it like a resolution here, in conclusion, Barbie is a really good movie. I think you should watch this movie after Oppenheimer, because Oppenheimer is obviously a much depressing movie. Well, this movie, again, has some dark themes, stuff like that. It's more cheery and more uplifting, especially towards the end, where it gives more of a very positive self-love message. And I think it's fun for the whole family to watch. Even if you're by yourself watching this movie for some reason, definitely go watch and check out this movie. It's a really good movie. But when I rate this movie to scale 1 to 10, I'm going with an 8 out of 10. This movie, banger movie, one of the best movies of this year so far, unironically. Sorry for saying unironically a lot. I just still can't believe that Barbie is this freaking good, and it was definitely worth the wait. That's it for this episode. I did tell you guys in a Final Fantasy 16 review that I was going to review Oppenheimer and Barbie, and even in the Oppenheimer review, I told you I was going to review Barbie when I got to see it. So yeah, I got to see it. Gave my thoughts on it. So yeah, I kept my promise. I kept my side of the bargain. Hopefully there's other things to review, music, more movies. I don't know what other movies are going to come out. But yeah, and more games for sure. I definitely want to review more games too. As I said, that's all I have for this episode. And yeah, peace out, everyone. Stay safe.